January 15th. That's the deadline most gardeners don't know exists. By February, it's already too late to start these 17 crops. And the difference isn't weeks, it's months of food. Start these crops now and you'll be harvesting fresh vegetables in early summer, while most people are still paying $4 per pound at the grocery store. Wait until spring and you'll be watching your garden grow while everyone who started in January is already eating. Right now, most people are scrolling through seed catalogs, planning what they'll order in March. But while they're planning, you could already have seedlings growing under lights, roots developing, plants preparing for the moment the soil warms up. These 17 crops separate the gardeners who eat from their gardens in June from the gardeners who wait until August. Here's what you must plant in January and why waiting will cost you an entire season. The storage crops. The first category is the storage crops. These are the vegetables that feed you through winter, and they need the longest growing season. Onions. Onions started from seed in January will be ready to harvest in late summer and will store through the entire winter. Most people plant onion sets in spring because it's easier. But starting from seed in January produces bigger bulbs, longer storage life, and costs a fraction of the price. Here's the math. One $5 packet of onion seeds produces around 200 onions. That's a full year's supply of cooking onions from a single tray started in January. Sow onion seeds indoors in seed trays filled with potting mix. Keep them around 65 degrees near a sunny window or under lights. When the seedlings develop their second leaf, transplant them into another tray, spacing them 2 inches apart. Then harden them off and transplant outside in early spring as soon as the soil is workable. If you don't start onions by mid-January, they simply won't have enough time to size up before the days shorten in fall. Late starts produce small bulbs that don't store. Leeks. Leeks follow the same process as onions, but they're even more valuable. Leeks started in January grow thick and tall by fall and can stand in the garden through winter. Unlike onions, which must be harvested and stored, leeks simply wait in the ground until you need them. They bridge the gap between stored food running out in February and new crops coming in during spring. That makes leeks one of the most valuable crops for true food security. Sow them indoors in January, transplant them deeply in spring, and harvest them fresh all winter. Garlic and shallots. If you didn't plant garlic in fall, January is your last chance in mild climates. Fall planting produces bigger bulbs, but January planting still gives a solid harvest and months of storage. Break bulbs into individual cloves, plant them 2 inches deep and 6 inches apart, pointed end up. Mulch heavily and let them grow. Shallots are planted the same way, but they form clusters of smaller bulbs with a milder flavor. They often store even longer than onions, sometimes up to a full year. These 4 crops alone, onions, leeks, garlic, and shallots, form the backbone of nearly every meal you cook, and they all require January timing. But storage crops only solve winter. The next category feeds you all summer. The summer producers. The second category is the summer producers. These are the crops everyone wants: tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant, and the crops most people start too late. Tomatoes. The last week of January is the perfect time to start tomatoes indoors. Tomatoes need 8 to 10 weeks of indoor growth before they can be transplanted outside after the last frost. January-started tomatoes go into the garden strong, thick-stemmed, and already established. They flower quickly and set fruit early. That means ripe tomatoes by late June. March-started tomatoes don't go outside until late May. They're smaller, weaker, and don't set fruit until mid-summer, which means no ripe tomatoes until September, if you're lucky. That's the difference between eating your own tomatoes for 3 months and buying them at grocery store prices all summer. Sow seeds in small pots or trays, keep them around 70 degrees, and provide as much light as possible. When they develop true leaves, transplant them into 4-inch pots and harden them off gradually before planting outside. Peppers.
Peppers need an even longer growing season than tomatoes. They're slow to germinate, slow to grow, and slow to fruit, which is why January is essential. Sow pepper seeds in small pots and keep them very warm, 75 to 80 degrees. Once they sprout, give them maximum light and transplant into larger pots as they grow. Do not rush peppers outdoors. They stall badly if exposed to cold and can lose weeks of growth. Wait until nighttime temperatures stay above 55 degrees before planting. Eggplant follows the same rules as peppers, but is even more heat-loving. Starting in January gives you the full season needed to produce fruit before fall frosts. Sow indoors, keep warm, transplant carefully, mulch heavily, and water consistently. These 3 crops alone can feed you all summer if you give them the time they need. But summer isn't the only challenge. There's a gap most gardeners miss entirely: the spring gap fillers. The third category fills the hunger gap. That's the period between stored winter food running low and summer crops not producing yet. These crops mature in cool weather and provide fresh food when you need it most. Cauliflower. Cauliflower must never stop growing. Any delay causes it to form tiny button heads instead of full 8-inch harvests. Starting in January is the only way to avoid failure. Sow seeds indoors, keep them growing steadily, transplant to cold frames, then move outside early. Broccoli and cabbage follow the same timing as cauliflower. January starts, February cold frames, March transplant. Wait until March to start them, and they mature in summer heat, turning bitter and disappointing. Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts need the longest season of all the cole crops. They must be started in January to mature properly by fall. Late starts produce tall plants with few sprouts. Early starts produce full stalks loaded with tight heads. Lettuce and kale. Winter lettuce varieties started in January can grow slowly through cold weather and provide early spring harvests. Sow lightly, barely cover the seeds, and keep the soil moist. Kale is even hardier. January started kale transplants produce continuously from late spring through winter. These crops are what keep you eating fresh food before summer arrives. But the final category looks even further ahead: the permanent producers. The fourth category is the permanent producers. These are crops you plant once and harvest for years. Asparagus. January is the traditional time to plant asparagus crowns. You won't harvest for the first 2 years, but once established, asparagus produces for 20 years or more. And at $8 to $12 per pound in stores, a small bed saves hundreds of dollars every year. Plant crowns in trenches, gradually fill them in as they grow, and let the plants build strength for the future. Rhubarb. January is also the time to force rhubarb. Cover established crowns with barrels or pots and bury them under manure and straw. The warmth and darkness produce tender stalks weeks earlier than normal. Artichokes. Artichokes started from seed in January can produce by fall in mild climates. They're perennials that produce for 5 to 7 years and cost several dollars per head in stores. A few plants pay for themselves many times over. Celery. Celery needs a long season and constant moisture. Starting in January is non-negotiable. Sow seeds indoors, transplant into rich trenches in late spring, and keep them watered. Give celery time and it rewards you. The reality of timing. Here's what all of this really means. Start these crops in January and you'll harvest from June through November. That's 5 months of continuous fresh food. Wait until March and you'll harvest from August through October. That's 2 months. That's 3 months of fresh vegetables you never get back. January isn't too early. For these 17 crops, January is the last chance. And you still have time. The complete planting guide is in the description. Start now and eat sooner.